Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Steve Swarney. I'm the Executive Director of AIA Pennsylvania, and we are very, very proud to bring to you today, as a very important member benefit, our webinar. The webinar today will go into detail on the Bureau of Diversity, Inclusion, and Small Business Opportunities and eligibility requirements and the selection criteria for the Department of General Service projects. We're very fortunate today to have two presenters. Number one, Paula E. Murphy, MED, is the construction liaison to the Pennsylvania Department of General Services, the Bureau of Diversity, Inclusion, and Small Business Opportunities, commonly known as DISBO. And our second presenter is Bonnie Sowers, RA, of the PA Department of General Services, Public Works Capital Planning Coordinator. There will be time for Q&A at the end of the webinar, so please make sure you type all of your questions into the questions box on your webinar pop-up, and they will be answered at the end of the presentation. We'll try to combine some questions that are similar, and we'll try to get everything answered. And by all means, if you don't get a question answered or you think of something after that, feel free to email myself or Olivia or Amal, and we could pass those questions on to Paula and Bonnie at a later time and get you some answers. So we're happy to do that. So again, this webinar is being offered for AIA Continuing Education. Please be sure to fill out the survey at the end of the Q&A portion to be sure that you get your CE credit. And without further ado, I am going to turn the presentation over to Paula. Paula, thank you very much for being here, and take it away.
Good morning. Good morning, AIA members, and a special thank you to AIA and the leadership and staff for partnering with us to bring this webinar to you. It is our hope that the information that we share with you today will help you to increase your competitive edge and also to encourage you to seek out opportunities to do more business with the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So let's get started. What is our role, Bureau of Diversity, Inclusion, and Small Business Opportunities? Our role is to assist all of you, small and small diverse businesses, and helping you to compete for Commonwealth contracting opportunities. We provide assistance with our online self-certification application, education and training of our small and small diverse business programs, technical assistance. We facilitate strategic partnerships with prime contractors. We also offer and provide proactive compliance and monitoring and proactive compliance of any spend to our small and small diverse businesses. And we recently launched a mentor protege program, which is in the pilot stage, where we are pairing successful primes with DGS small and small diverse businesses to help them to develop their competitive position through mentoring and training. So what's on our agenda for today? We're going to talk about the small and small diverse business programs and their eligibility requirements, procurement types and factors, bidding opportunities and where you can locate them, programmatic work that's currently in progress, and then we will wrap up with Bonnie Sowers, who will talk to you about the professional selection process. So what is the small and small diverse business programs? Well, these programs were created to ensure that open and equitable contracting practices are utilized in procurement. So what do you need to know? The eligibility requirements, and here they are represented here. We have a program called the Small Business Program, and the small business self-certification eligibility is as follows. The company must be a for-profit company located in these United States. It must be independently owned, not owned by another branch, subsidiary, or division. It cannot be dominant in its field of operation, and by dominance, we're speaking of not exercising major influence or control in your market share like Comcast for cable or IBM for information technology. You can have no more than 100 full-time equivalent employees, and that is statute. And the revenue threshold are as follows. For an average 3-year gross sales and your sales receipt, your business type cannot exceed $7 million for building and design services, $20 million for procurement goods and services and as a construction contractor and supplier, and $25 million for information technology goods and services. So, for example, if your company's average gross sales was $23 million, while it would be good for information technology goods and services, but it would not meet the revenue threshold for the building, and design services or the procurement goods and services as a construction contractor and supplier. Excuse me. There is a 2-year renewal, which is pretty new. We are leaning our processes for our customers. And you can find information on the eligibility requirements by visiting our website at www.dgs.pa.gov. And most importantly, it is free. We also have another program called the Small Diverse Business Program. And here are the eligibility requirements and verification criteria. First of all, you need to know, what is a small diverse business? How do we define it? It is a minority, woman, veteran, service-disabled veteran, LGBT, or disability-owned business enterprise. The company also must be self-certified as a small business with the small business contracting program that I just informed you about. It must have at least 51% ownership by that small diverse business entity, and it must be controlled, and they must be able to make they must be able to make 51% of the decisions in the company. They also must be certified through at least one of the 7 third-party approvers that we recognize, and they are listed here. I will not read them all to you, but instead will inform you that the 2 newest ones that we have added to our pool is the U.S. Business Leaders Network for the disability-owned business enterprise and the service-disabled veteran enterprise, as well as the National Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce for the LGBTBE. Likened to the small business program, it is a 2-year renewal, and this information can be found on our website, and it is also free. So what's the process for getting closer to the table in order to do more business with the Commonwealth? Well, here it is. Step 1, you will need to register as a vendor. Step 2, you will need to self-certify as a small business. And step 3, you will need to verify as a small diverse business if you want to be recognized as a small diverse business. Now that you know the eligibility requirements, let's talk about those steps that I just outlined. One of the most critical steps is for you to register as a vendor with the Commonwealth as a supplier. And how do you do that? You go to the PA Supplier Portal, which is a website where you can register your company to participate in electronic bidding opportunities. You will then be assigned a unique 6-digit vendor number by the Commonwealth. And the whole point of that is, ladies and gentlemen, that gets you paid should you be awarded a contract by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. As part of this registration process, you will also be asked to create your own unique user ID and password. We have enclosed this slide for your information, and this is some helpful information that we suggest that you have handy in order to help you prepare to register as a vendor. One of the things I want to highlight is to make sure that your legal name of your company matches your IRS information. Okay, so Here's a snapshot of the Supplier Services Center homepage, where you can find helpful information for registering, for bidding, and account management. However, please visit our website for construction services, or just reach out to me directly, and I'll be glad to assist you in providing some technical assistance, showing you where that information is. You can also contact the you can also reach out for help if you want to speak to someone one-on-one, and that information is handy as well. Here's where you need to go to register. The link is www.pasupplierportal.state.pa.us, and as indicated, if you do need additional assistance and feel the need to speak directly with someone one-on-one, just reach out to our help desk. They are open from 8 to 4:30 a.m. The next step to getting closer to the table to do business with the Commonwealth is to self-certify as a small business. And here's how you do it. You will need to go back to the PA Supplier portal, and then you will click the Log On button. I got a little ahead of myself here. I'm sorry, we're having technical difficulty. Okay, here we are. So you'll need to go to the supplier portal, just to recap, and click on that Log On button. That username and password that you created during vendor registration, you'll just need to enter it here, that user ID and password that you created. You will then need to select the Bidder tab and the Enterprise Applications option. You will be stopped with a security warning by the security police. And the whole point of this slide is for you to be able to view both secure and non-secure content. So just make sure that you are selecting the answers that align for you to be able to view all of the content. That will bring you to the Enterprise Application Portal's welcome page, where you will see the option to select the Small and Small Diverse Business Program online application to begin to self-certify as a small business if you're eligible, and then to proceed on to verify and be recognized as a small diverse business if that is your choice. So here are the first 5 steps, and it is required for both self-certification as a small business and small diverse business. And the final 2 steps is if you want to be recognized as a small diverse business. So here's a snapshot of the home page, okay? And if you do need to toggle back and forth while you're in the application, you may do so by going between the black step boxes. Do not use your browser's back button, because something weird will happen if you do. Finally, upon signing in, you will need to check this box to certify that you have read the program's overview and the eligibility requirements, and that you understand that there are consequences for providing false information. Again, we see in the first step of the process for the small business self-certification application that there are the eligibility requirements displayed again. If you notice, there are radio buttons with question marks contained. If you get stuck on a question, if you hover over the radio button, it will provide clarification of that question or eligibility requirement. Also, this is where you begin to select your business type, okay? And there are descriptions included next to those business types. We have 5 business types. So if your business type, for example, is building and design services, what that description says is that it includes architectural and engineering services in connection with design and planning of buildings and the space within the site surrounding the building, is how we describe it and define it. You will need to then enter the total number of full-time equivalent employees and upload your federal tax returns first page for the last 3 years of your average gross sales receipts. We also do allow an account for startups, so you'll just need to enter not applicable for the years where there was no tax return, and enter 0 for the tax return for years submitted where there was no gross sales receipts. You will then save and continue. If you want to be recognized and verified as a small diverse business for that second program and the eligibility requirements that I previously talked about, you will need to take this additional step in order to be recognized and verified as a minority, woman, veteran, service-disabled veteran, LGBT, or disability-owned company. And though there are, you will do this in the 6th and 7th final 2 steps. Okay, so those 7 third-party approvers that we recognize, here's a snapshot just displaying them. You will want to have your paperwork handy from one of them or more. And here's what we tell folks. We don't care how many certifications that you use and supply, as long as you're able to justify them. I'm sorry. Okay, so in step 5, okay, in order for you to even begin to, and I'm sorry, it looks like it's cutting off some of the screen. In order for you to even have the option to be verified as a small diverse business and be recognized and continue on to step 6, you will have to make sure that you have electronically signed, reviewed, and submitted through your electronic signature, attesting that the information that you're providing is true and correct, and that you understand that submitting any false information, there are consequences. Once you do that, the option will then appear for you to verify as a small diverse business. If that option will not appear if you do not electronically sign it, and your small business self-certification certificate will be considered invalid and incomplete because there will be no expiration date affixed to it. And again, here are those third parties that you will need to select one or more. And again, we do encourage you to diversify your portfolio and use as many as you like. But again, you must be able to document and justify them. So in short, the small business self-certification is immediate. The small diverse business review process can take up to 14 business days. But if you do see something out there, or there is a client that may want to partner with you, just give me a call and we can expedite that process for you. So what are the benefits to being in our program? Well, it is a free database for you, small and small diverse businesses. There's free marketing. We have numerous Commonwealth agencies prime contractors, and other organizations that do reach out to me on a daily basis because they are leaning their processes, and we're pointing them to our database to utilize you. Also, there's an opportunity for you to research your competition. You might find that one of the design professional firms that you know is a small business or small diverse business in our database, but they're being awarded more contracts than you. Well, there's a reason for that. It could be the way that they are actually coded. Also, we provide notifications of opportunities and special events and activities that we host, and that are also passed on to us. How do prime contractors locate you, or how do you find your competition or folks that you may want to partner with? Well, you can search for them in two ways. This is pretty new for us, a new search page and function as we have revamped it. But the short of it is you can do two searches, a quick search and an advanced search. The quick search is just a matter of you typing in the supplier's name or that SAP number to browse all of the small and small diverse businesses. Or you can conduct a more extensive search that we call an advanced search, where you will just need to supply the name and the SAP number or the county, the SB or SDBs classification. Also, you can filter your search by stocking supplier, non-stocking supplier, UNSPSC codes, or etc. And that's what the next few slides are demonstrating. One of the things I also want to point out is if you're only searching for small businesses, you can filter your search and customize it that way if you only want to return results for small diverse businesses. Likewise, you can filter your search to only return results for small diverse businesses. Here, we are just showing you that you can filter your search by counties, and here's what those search results look like. It will include the firm's name, contact information, inclusive of their address. If they are self-certified as a small business, you will see the expiration date. And in this case, we see that House Services is self-certified as a small business. However, they are not a small diverse business. Here we see that Reed Building Services is self-certified as a small diverse business. And we know that they're also a small business because that's part of the self-certification process to be a small business first. Here's what the profile looks like. All of that information that you would have put into our online application and any codes that you would have entered along with your business types will show up in your supplier profile. And again, I apologize, we had to break this out because we could not fit everything on one page. Also, here's an example of those UNSPSC codes that you would have selected. They will also be contained in your supplier profile. The renewal process takes it's 2 years, and we do provide a notification, 2 of them as a matter of fact, and the vendor is removed after the grace period with lapse, which means that vendor would need to go back into our online self-certification and start the process all over again if they are in lapse status. So we're going to now talk about the procurement types and factors. There are 2 primary methods of competitive procurement for services and supplies and construction that we utilize here at the Commonwealth based on the procurement code. They are invitation for bid and request for proposal. The invitation for bid is the most frequently used one. It is that traditional sealed bidding, and the award is made on the price alone. Also, there is the request for proposal, or RFP, which is for the more complex proposals and purchases that we have. And there is a best value approach, and the best value approach has multiple factors that we do consider, and it is the only procurement vehicle that we use when we are considering small, diverse business and small business status. And here is the factors that we do consider in those requests for proposals. Typically, the technical portion comprises 40 to 50% of the available points, and this is on a 1,000-point scale, and respondents are required to outline their approach to the problem and describe their experience and their personnel that they're going to be using, etc. Also, the cost portion typically comprises 30 to 40% of the available points, and the respondents are required to provide cost models that are outlined in the RFP that the agency is requesting. We also have the small diverse business and small business participation submittal component, which comprises 20% of the available points. And again, I mentioned that it is on a 1,000-point scale, and the applicants are requested to respond and provide commitments expressed as a percentage of the total cost to small diverse businesses. And this is where small and small diverse businesses also indicate their status as a small and small diverse business with us. Also new to us is the design professional selection application. We do have a process, and it is part of our procurement type, as a matter of fact, and this is used for professional design for capital projects. This approach does consider multiple factors, which Bonnie will probably talk about, and they are equitable distribution of contracts, particular capability, geographic proximity, and necessary available personnel. The other relevant circumstances does relate to the small diverse business and small business component of the application. Again, it is set and comprises 20% of the available points, and the applicants, they must provide commitments, and those commitments, saying this before, is expressed as a percentage of its total compensation towards the SDB and the SB consultant participation. Here's a snapshot of our small diverse business submittal and what that looks like in that application packet. The first section is about the project and the applicant's contact information. The second section is about the applicant telling us if their firm is in fact a DGS verified small diverse business or a self-certified small business. And this is, if you are a prime applicant offerer, just want to make you aware, here is a benefit to you, because you can receive, we credit you points behind the scene for your status as a DGS self-certified small business or verified small diverse business. The third section is for consulting participation commitments that the prime applicant would be making in the application. Here is our new scoring model, and it is based on a raw score, which is calculated by crediting commitments to the small diverse businesses and small businesses with the total available points. There are 200 maximum points, and here's the simple formula. The SDB divided by the SB raw score equals those 200 maximum points. That SD percentage commitment that you indicated on the submittal will be plugged in here, along with the SB percentage commitment. The SDB prime proposers are eligible to receive 100% of both the SDB and SB points, and the applicants who indicate sub-consulting commitments to SDBs and SBs will also be credited in accordance with those percentages proposed. Here's the bottom line. Applicants that submit the highest scoring SDB and SB participation submittal receive the most points, and all the other applicants' raw scores are adjusted pro rata. Here's our contract requirements. I won't read them all to you, but we'll simply say that contract commitments that are made to our small diverse businesses and small businesses do become contractual obligations upon execution of the contract. Also, we do provide monitoring and tracking, and the selected applicant must complete a utilization report to show that they are making progress and meeting those small and small diverse business commitments. If there are any changes that arise, the DISBO must be contacted. So, where do you go to find out about these bidding opportunities? eMarketplace, www.emarketplace.state.pa.us. We do have a shortcut on our website, which is located to the right of you here. And we also highly encourage you to learn about and sign up for the EAlert subscription service. This is a tool that informs you about any upcoming opportunities or changes to any solicitations that may come out. It only takes a good 2 minutes to sign up, and it is for vendors that are both Commonwealth suppliers and that are not Commonwealth suppliers. So anybody can sign up to use the subscription. We also have opportunities through our job order contracting small business program. And basically, what is job order contracting? Well, job order contracting is a Commonwealth small business construction folio of projects with a dollar scope of $10,000 to $300,000. There are some opportunities through them. I've seen this be increased. We started with 7 million and we're actually over the 25 million mark right now. There are prime and subcontracting opportunities in construction as well as in professional design. This program does encompass 12 separate indefinite quantity job order contracts, and it does cover 4 of the disciplines: general construction, HVAC, plumbing, and electrical across all 3 regions of the state. We did recently have an RFP that went out that is currently in the stage of contract execution, which actually breaks the regions down further in the northern sections of the region, of the state, for the northern sections of the region. Here is a map that shows you the breakout. The possibilities and of opportunities are endless across the Commonwealth. For job order contracting, we do have prime contractors who have are obligated to commitment percentages all across the state and all of the regions, all 3, central, eastern, and western. And if you notice, for example, in the central region of the state, one of the prime contractors, Lobar, has committed for general construction a 20% commitment to a small diverse business and 20% for small businesses. They are expected to go to our database and to engage you. These are annual percentage commitments. So please, we do have a page of information or you can just contact me and I can provide their contact information, as you will need to reach out directly to them. I can help facilitate that. And one of the other things I will say about JOC is we have had numerous job order contracting networking fairs across the state. And what we did is we matched prime contractors and designers with those prime contract awardees. They participated in a matchmaking session, which was very beneficial as informed by the survey results. Okay, so the bottom line is if you need any information on JOC, please contact me. The programmatic work in progress is as follows. We're looking at strategy development for our small diverse business and small businesses. We're looking to make some changes to low bid capital construction. We are actually doing more RFPs, as a matter of fact, because we have found that there is more spend that is put into small diverse businesses and small businesses pockets, and this is a very important initiative by the governor. Also, we are continuing to conduct research into modernizing our systems in order to capture data and report. We're planning for continued improvements and enhancements for our annual report, which is part of our deliverables to the public. And we also have that mentor protege program, as I mentioned earlier, which is in a pilot stage right now. And I thank you for your time. Here is the contact information, and we'll be glad to answer any additional questions. I will now turn it over to Bonnie Sowers, who will talk about the professional selection process.
Thank you, Paula. As Paula just mentioned, I'm going to talk briefly about one of the 3 types of procurement methods that Paula outlined in the previous presentation, which is the professional selection process. It relies on what she had outlined as a request for application. So when you go into eMarketplace to look at projects that are advertised, you can filter. In the center of the screen, there is a radio box for request RFAs, and if you use that and you're interested in looking for just the design professionals, that's a quick, short way to get there. So, quick overview of our professional selection process. It involves 5 stages and 2 different committees. There is an ad hoc committee that is involved at the beginning and the end of the process, and a governor's appointed committee that is greatly involved in the center of the whole process. The beginning starts with the preparation of documents for solicitation and culminates in the posting of the advertisement. Then the next stage is the advertisement phase, where the professionals download the application and ends with the uploading of the application at or before the deadline. Then the next stage is the review of the applications by the governor's committee, which culminates with the actual selection committee meeting, where all of the various scorers submit their scores, and the scores are tabulated, and the top 3 firms move on as our shortlist. The 4th stage is the review of the shortlisted firms. This is completed by the ad hoc committee, and they make a recommendation to the secretary. The secretary then reviews all of the information that the shortlisted firms have submitted, the applications, any additional information, and makes an appointment. And then we move to the last stage, which is the actual negotiation, and culminates with the signing of an agreement. So during the first stage, the preparation, there are 2 things going on with the ad hoc committee that I believe this audience probably is most interested in. One is the distribution of points on our scoring matrix, and the other is the determination of additional criteria that the shortlisted firms will be scored or evaluated on. The scoring matrix, as Paul already mentioned, is based on the procurement code, and it takes into consideration equitable distribution of work, particular capabilities of the firm, applying the geographic distance, necessary available personnel, and other, which we have defined as the small diverse business interests. The total points for these 5 categories will always be 1,000 points. There will always, as Paula mentioned, be a minimum of 20% of the points, or 200 points, distributed to the small diverse business interests. That is a minimum, and we have had some cases where actually that was increased. That is the discretion of the ad hoc committee. So if we look in a little more detail at the breakdown of the scoring matrix, equitable distribution of work is actually subdivided into 2 categories, and so the points are distributed. The 800 points that can be distributed to the other categories are further broken down. So for equitable distribution of work, we look at the number of Commonwealth contracts that the firm has, and also we look at the total fee award for those contracts. I would like to point out that this will only be for the prime contract. So on the application, on the pages where we list, we ask you to list your work with the Commonwealth. Please do not list subcontractor work. That will actually only harm you by doing that. Occasionally we pick up on that, but it's not our responsibility to verify whether the work that you're listing is prime or subprime, or prime or, subconsultant. Excuse me. So this work is evaluated based on a formula. The more work that you have with the Commonwealth, the smaller your score will be. Same with the total fee. The less work you have with the Commonwealth, the higher your score will be. Excuse me. I'm losing my voice all of a sudden. The next category is the particular capability of the firm. This is scored by the Governor's Committee members. They're going to look at your application and look at the projects that you list on your application and try and compare them to the program statement, which is posted in on eBuilder for your use, and compare the program that we're trying to achieve with your experience. That's divided in 3 categories: the prime firm, the consultant's experience, again, with similar size, scope, complexity, and among other factors, the public bidding. And then the third subcategory under particular capability is the firm's experience working together with the consultant team. The next item that is scored is the geographic proximity. This is fairly based on a straight formula. It is the distance from the project office that you identify as doing the majority of the work to the project site. And so the closer you are, the higher your score. The farther you are, the lower your score. The next category is the available personnel. Again, this one's scored by the Governor's Committee, and they're going to look at your application and look at the sections where you commit the number of people to the project and evaluate whether they feel that the team is sufficient in size as well as composition for the project that has been defined. So that's one subcategory, and then the second subcategory under necessary personnel is an evaluation of the leadership's experience in managing similar projects. And then Paul has already talked to you about the scoring of the diverse business interests. So then, as I mentioned before, the second thing that is done up front before we advertise is to determine whether or not we're going to interview, whether or not we're going to ask for a non-binding fee proposal, and or a slew of other items. And agencies have the right to even come up with things that are not currently on this list. So we'd recommend, again, that you look at the advertisement to see if there's anything unique that you may be responsible for performing once, if you make it to the short list. So the next step then was to advertise. And so if you're interested, the way to do that is to go to the eMarketplace website. And as I said, you can filter that down by selecting Request for Project Application. And then the advertisement will provide you with a link directly to eBuilder. You need to register on eBuilder. Even if you're working with the Commonwealth on other projects, this is a unique bidding module that we're using, and it's a different registration and a different password. So it's important that you register for each project that you're interested in. The professionals, you can then review the program statements. You'll have access to a file where we provide the program statements. You can look at the scoring matrix to determine what the ad hoc committee has determined as the most important aspects of the project. Again, each scoring matrix will add up to 1,000 points, but that distribution of points will vary for each project, depending on what that ad hoc committee feels is most important. The application will be in eBuilder, and we recommend that you use this application. The Department of Public Works is constantly evolving, and our application for this last round changed. So we had a few cases where people were using old applications, and we cannot accept old applications. So those projects were disqualified, or those applicants were disqualified. The best way to avoid not using the proper application is to use the one that we have provided for you with a specific project number and a specific project name in eBuilder. So once then you've completed the applications, you then must upload, and the key here is it needs to be prior to that time. We highly recommend that you don't wait till the last minute to upload, because we're using this electronic bidding device. It will lock down specifically at the deadline. So especially if you've never used the software before, we highly recommend that you try to upload your application prior to an hour or two before the deadline. A day before is even fine as well. So then the next stage is where the actual scoring occurs, and the scoring is done by multiple groups. DGS scores the equitable distribution of work and the distance from the project site. The Governor's Committee scores the particular capabilities and the ability to staff the project. And Paula's group, BDISBO, they score the small diverse business interest. So all those scores then are merged into a master scoring spreadsheet, which is then reviewed and with the public at the Governor's Committee meeting. The top 3 firms then move on as our shortlisted firms. So then the next stage is the shortlist process. The letters get sent out within a day or two of the Governor's Committee meeting, informing the shortlisted firms of their success. They are also informed of the letter of the additional information that they're required to provide, and the timing of that. Often there is an opportunity to visit the site, and they're provided with a date and time for that. And then there's, as I said, a deadline for getting the additional information in, which now the ad hoc committee reconvenes and reviews. If there is an interview, those dates are sent and times are sent out in advance to the shortlisted firms, and those presentations occur. And then finally, the shortlist committee reconvenes and discusses the projects. They then score after their discussions and make a recommendation to the secretary. And that brings us then to the last step, where the secretary reviews all the information. It's presented, all the information that the shortlist firm has received, it moves on to the secretary. He then appoints the firm, the letter goes out, and our negotiations begin. And that concludes my presentation, and I believe we will now open it up to questions.
Great. So everyone, this is Amal Maruki. I am the Director of Legislative Affairs for AIA Pennsylvania, and I'm going to be moderating the Q&A session for you. So as we get ourselves ready, please open up your questions box, and you can type your questions right into this questions box. As of right now, we don't have any questions. So if you have any questions on the great presentation that Paula gave or the great presentation that Bonnie gave, now is the time to type your questions into the questions box, and we'll give you some time to do that. Oh. Yes, Todd, there will be a PDF available of this presentation. It will be in your handout, so please look for that. And there still are no other questions. So with that said, I want to give everyone a couple more minutes, maybe 1 minute, just to talk about the great things that we've been doing with DGS. If Steve, our executive director, did not touch on that in the beginning of this webinar, I want to let all of you on this line know that we have a great relationship with the Department of General Services and with the Bureau of Diversity, Inclusion, and Small Business Opportunities. We have quarterly meetings with them, along with members of ACEC and PSTE, and they have been doing some wonderful things with the modernization of eBuilder and of DGS, and we are just so thankful that they are great partners with us. So again, the handouts will be released. I see that they're not uploaded. I will get those to you as soon as possible. Also, the session has been recorded. Since there are no questions, that will not be distributed. But other than that, I want to thank everyone for being on this webinar. If you have any other questions, you know how to find me, and I can make sure that we get answers to any questions that you have regarding DGS, selections criteria, eligibility criteria, so on and so forth. So I thank you all for your hour, for your time, and look forward to seeing you on another webinar or at another AIA Pennsylvania event. Thank you so much. Be sure to fill out your survey after we end this webinar for your CE credit. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.